In other news, fortunately, no lives were lost and there were no major injuries reported as a result of Typhoon Mangkhut, but it is worthy to note that coverage for the entire island's emergency public health needs were met behind the scenes through partnerships between our 3 major hospitals. We're now learning that the Guam Regional Medical City was the only hospital on island able to take emergencies by ambulance at the peak of and in the immediate aftermath of the storm. Here's more. Hospital and emergency care availability is of utmost importance during any storm, as injuries and casualties can and do happen. But what happens when a hospital is no longer able to take in emergency patients? Fortunately, the island did not face this problem during Typhoon Mangkhut, but we have learned that emergency services were somewhat limited. During the peak of Typhoon Mangkhut's landfall on Guam and in the immediate aftermath, there was only one hospital able to safely accommodate ambulance patients, the Guam Regional Medical City. Corporate Affairs Vice President Eric Plinsky.
GMH, Naval went on a complete diversion because they said they closed their gate to anyone coming in, and they also were not sending out any ambulances to pick anyone up. And GMH evidently went on to a diversion due to a CT scanner, I think, was down, and then possibly because of elevators being down and rain and water throughout the building, creating a unsafe transportation situation for patients within the hospital. So we were the only hospital that was fully open to all comers for most of Core 1.
This meant that during the diversion period, the Guam Fire Department was on strict orders to send anyone needing emergency transport via ambulance directly to GRMC. Naval Hospital was in complete lockdown for the duration of Core 1, and the Guam Memorial Hospital facility was deemed unsafe because of widespread leaks and flooding.
Without their elevators, they wouldn't be able to bring patients up. So that could easily saturate their ED. At least that's what.
And I think that's what they were trying to do, is maintain the patients in an ED holding pattern.
Right.
Because normally when your elevators are down, you'll go to a patient transport system where they'll use special equipment to move patients up the stairwells. But if your stairwells and your hallways are all flooded with water, that also is very unsafe.
Although GRMC only had a few patients come through its emergency room via ambulance during the storm, Chief Medical Officer Dr. Felix Cabrera says it's difficult to tell if any of them were diverted.
The standing order with GFD at that point was that all ambulance transports goes to GRMC. So there was no even inquiry of what hospital they preferred.
He also says that the hospital saw an influx of patients after the storm. A typical busy day for GRMC is 40 patients in a 24-hour period coming through its emergency room. On Tuesday, after winds died down, they saw 65 patients in a 12-hour period alone.
Once the Core 4 was declared at 12 noon, and everybody started flooding in by ambulance. Did we not have like 6 to 8 ambulances show up?
We had 11.
Like back to back.
We had 11.
Were any of them? Obviously they're maybe typhoon related. Did they have injuries that they sustained? Maybe possibly.
Yeah, they were mostly minor, and it had to do with a lot of the cleanup and preparation. Your typical lacerations that were easy to repair.
While the diversion of ambulance patients went off without a hitch, Plinsky says it was a community effort through a strong partnership with GMH and Naval Hospital that made it possible. And to be clear, diversion does not mean the hospitals were turning patients away.
Patients could have still presented to GMH, but that's by private vehicle. And so that they weren't going to turn away patients that did present to GMH. I want to make that clear, that GMH was not turning away patients, that it was basically a diversion in terms of those who needed emergency transport.
In fact, GRMC says they too experienced some minor facility and structural damage, like water seeping in through some windows. GRMC says they are now assessing any possible damage and will work on improving their facility for future storms and disasters.